Hey guys, I'm Fuller,
I'm Jeremy.
and this is Off the Line. This week we're talking about Louisville City. Kind of a little bit of a slow start, a little bit of a bounce back. The Premier League, Champions League, and the draw that happened yesterday. Talk about the potential dumpster fire that the USA roster could be next week. And we'll round it off with the MLS, what we've seen so far. Just to recap, Louisville City, 2 games into the season, lost 3-0 last week against North Carolina FC. Did not, just across the board, play well. Looked kind of lost most of the game.
Yeah.
There's really all I have to say about that game. It just, I don't know, seemed off. Seemed like they didn't really know what they were doing. They played yesterday in Atlanta against Atlanta 2. They won that 1-0. I think that was a Theom goal. Brian Ownby assist, so it's nice to see Ownby already out there. In the early parts of the season, I feel like, we've only really seen him pop up in the postseason the last few years. But 3 points out of 6 so far, so 50-50. We can really only go up from here. And we always knew it was going to be a slow start anyway this season, so.
I think the big thing to take away from the first season or the first game of the season against North Carolina was that, back when we had James O'Connor, Louisville didn't always approach games with the exact same tactics in the exact same way, but throughout a game you would always see certain patterns of play developing. And kind of like what you said, they just looked kind of lost.
Yeah.
You didn't see anything like that. You didn't see certain little triangles consistently forming between players. You didn't see Del Piccolo picking out that specific pass that you would see him sort of be able to pick out in different games. So looking for more of an identity moving forward, definitely, or looking for different things that that when a game is getting tough, you'll know that you'll be able to lean on in a sense like that.
Home opener is this next Saturday. So hopefully, we'll get a win there. Get 2 wins out of 3. I think a win at home is always good.
Yeah, it'll definitely color the beginning of a season a little bit differently than
so far
it looks right now.
Yeah. Moving on to the Premier League, we didn't do the episode last week, so to catch up kind of on last week's games, Ollie lost his first game at United against Arsenal 2-0. Arsenal played fantastic, really well across the board.
I feel like that kind of got overshadowed by the whole Ollie's first loss storyline.
They definitely played really well. And it was also just kind of hard to, I want to say, give a lot more credit to Arsenal's defense, but United just couldn't do it. They just could not get the ball in the back of the net, and it's really unfortunate because, we've seen Arsenal concede plenty of goals this season. With that being said, and Chelsea getting that 94th minute equalizer against Wolves, the top 4 race, it's just bumping right now. Spurs, dodged a bullet, because if United wins that game and Chelsea win their game, Arsenal first of all are 6th,
right,
and Tottenham's down to 5th. United could have gone to 3rd this past weekend. Tottenham really just caught a lucky break, because they are on their own little slide. The slide they should have had when Harry Kane was out.
Yeah.
Which somehow, now that you have Harry Kane back, you slide. It's really weird.
Yeah.
But Liverpool and City also both won last week. This the whole top 6 is coming down to the wire. I really can't remember a race like this in a few years. I guess we've just been. Chelsea, when Conte came, just flat out won and dominated the league, and when City did it last season, they dominated the league. So really haven't seen a super competitive race since probably the slip a couple years ago, in all honesty.
And honestly, I would argue, obviously, the vast majority, if not all Liverpool fans, would still rather be ahead of City in the table. But I think that if Liverpool goes on to win the title this year, we're going to look at them falling behind City with 6, 7, 8 games to go, as being almost a good thing, because back 2 or 3 weeks ago, it was almost like, when are Liverpool going to slip? When are they going to fall behind? And then when they finally did fall behind, Jurgen Klopp kind of laughed and said, "Oh, well, now we're chasing. We much prefer to chase in this situation."
Yeah.
And he kind of got like laughed at for saying that and mocked. And just like seeing the way they've played since they have fallen a point behind, almost just kind of like gives cadence to what he was saying. So I don't think he looks as stupid as a lot of people said he looked when he said that.
I think it is also pretty interesting. So United and City both won their last FA Cup round. Like, this weekend would have been the original Manchester Derby date.
Yeah.
But now that's been moved to the end of April. So that means if things are still where they are in a month, like, City might need to get points at Old Trafford.
Yeah.
And that might not happen.
Tasty.
Like, yeah. It's setting to be pretty spicy.
I do want to go back to Old Trafford just briefly and ask you about something. Like, don't you think that Ole's first loss to Arsenal would look a little bit different if you guys had actually gone out to PSG? Because then it's like Ole takes over, goes on this incredible run, wins a bunch of games, but then his two first like super important games, like PSG
Loses
in the
back to
Champions
back.
League, and then Arsenal, who you were like either tied with or like within a point of in the table. Like, if he loses those two games back to back, like, suddenly does he
So
look
things are
like
a little different. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think things would look a little different. Yeah, that was my mood when we lost. Like, well, we just won in Paris the other day. Like,
because there was a sense like in the second leg of that Champions League tie that United was playing with house money, and as a club, like, I think they very much were. But like in Ollie's case specifically, like, I don't know if he was in that case, if he's trying to like make himself as attractive to them for the full-time job. Yeah.
Well, I know that he has said that his contract at Molde has been canceled now. And I know that, so, like, there's season ticket holders and then there's, like, big-time season ticket holders. And I know that big-time season ticket holders have been, like, I wouldn't say, like, told, but have been, like, briefed on the potential that, like, he more likely is going to be the manager.
Oh yeah, they're already like talking about how much United is gonna. I've heard like the figure 7 million floated is how much they're gonna like pay for that canceled contract.
Yeah. But moving on from United, something I want to talk about, Newcastle.
Yes.
Newcastle won today. They won last week. They won almost every week since they introduced Miguel Almiron in the lineup.
My boy Miggy.
Yeah, dude, he's blown up in the Prem, and I don't want to get too hype off of it, but like, do you see him staying at Newcastle for very long, or do you think if he puts together a good season and a half, that he dips off somewhere?
I mean, if he keeps playing the way he has been playing, for like a ridiculously extended period of time, I think without question he'll go to a bigger club. But I think also it's been up in the air, and like, I don't want to get too excited for it because it's been talked about on and off like literally for the past 6 to 8 years, but like, Newcastle is on the brink of being sold, and like, that's still one of the biggest fan bases and the biggest clubs in like old football man terms in England. So I've like, that's a team that like some Russian oligarch or some like oil prince could easily come in and like make a really good squad. Like, they could become easily, if not the next Everton, like push into that next like top 6, make it a top 7 type deal.
That'd be nuts.
With the right backing, yeah. So depending on whose hands Newcastle falls into, he could stick around for a lot longer. But if Newcastle continues to be ran the way it has been ran for the past like then there's no way he'll stick around for very long, assuming that he keeps up this form. I'm not saying he's going to leave in the summer. Like, I think they're going to get a good 2 or 3 seasons out of him, like, without question. But long term, dude. Like, yeah, if he keeps producing like that, he's going to be...
If they go back down, he wouldn't stay. Put it that way. Like,
exactly.
Another team I want to talk about who got a nice little spring edition, Michy Batshuayi at Crystal Palace. I mean, Crystal Palace they still have a couple kings to work out, but that front three of Townsend, Zaha, and Michy looks really nice. Like on paper, it looks real cute.
No, and a lot of pundits like right after he was signed, were like, I think that's enough. They instantly were like, I think that's going to be enough to keep Palace up, like for sure.
Absolutely, I like it.
Which I agree, like he's an incredible talent, and like it is very frustrating as a Chelsea fan to see him like, other than his little stint at Valencia the first half of this season, like he's worked out really well anywhere we've sent him.
Yeah. 7 goals in 10 Bundesliga games.
Yeah, and like definitely before we signed Higuain, and before just like randomly remembered that we have Olivier Giroud in our squad. Like it was very, very frustrating to see him be recalled from loan and then be
shipped
sent.
right back out. Yeah.
It was a huge head scratcher.
Well, that's what I kind of wanted to get really at. I mean, what do you think Chelsea should do with Michy eventually?
I mean, I don't see him being integrated under Sarri.
Sell him off? Try to get as much money back as possible?
Yeah, like, at some point, some Chelsea manager is going to have to give him a chance. Like, you know what I mean?
It's really awful you have to like, some Chelsea man, like, there's going to be a couple more that come.
Like, somebody is going to have to give him a chance at some point in time, and it doesn't look like it's going to happen. So, like, from his perspective, like, why would he not want to go find a permanent spot somewhere? Even if it is as that at that tier, like right below, if it's like stays at Crystal Palace or like moves to like an Everton or a West Ham or like another big club that's not quite like pushing for top 4 type deal.
Nacho route.
Yeah.
R.I.P. Dude, he used to be sick.
Yeah.
Michy Nacho, he used
absolutely.
to score in every game he played.
He was like the Jesus before the Jesus.
It was nuts. Moving on to the Champions League. I mean, obviously, the 2 biggest games, United PSG, Ajax Real. I mean, you could talk for days about how awesome the United PSG game was, but, like, that Ajax Real game, like...
Absolutely.
United were lucky to win their game.
Yeah.
Like, they were very lucky to get that call. Ajax beat the shit out of Real Madrid.
And it makes Ramos look so dumb for
oh my god, and he
also
also had that documentary, those people up there filming him, like... you know, like, I mean, because, like, Ramos and Zidane butted heads, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know that Zidane's going to hold that over his head, like, every chance he gets.
You don't think Ramos could be...
on his way out?
Yeah.
That'd be nuts.
Like, that's very much like, if anything has come from Zidane coming back to Real Madrid, like, it makes Zidane look amazing. And it also shifts the power back from Sergio Ramos to Florentino Perez. Like, Florentino Perez very much wanted Sergio Ramos, if he had it his way, gone 3 or 4 years ago.
I know.
Back when Jose left.
I know, he was linked with United that year.
That's when he realized that Sergio Ramos was gaining all of his power in the dressing room.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Like, it's kind of hard to imagine a universe where Sergio Ramos isn't like at Madrid, but they're
rapidly approaching.
Yeah, they're obviously the 2 aforementioned. Yeah, Zidane and Perez like haven't always enjoyed working with him, so I don't necessarily think that's completely out of the question, but that's an excellent question. Where would he go? I very much see it. United, PSG, Juve. I mean, Juve's already being linked with Marcelo, so what if they just buy all of these Real players that are trying to be...
When you said a couple of years ago he was beefing with Perez, he, like, sought United out to have contract negotiations to put the lean on Perez to hurry up with his new contract.
Yeah.
And I still think, like, I mean, we talked earlier about, like, after Alexis Sanchez being 30 years old and getting a massive contract.
Hey.
Okay, so Blank Sanchez came to United for all this money over 30, And I said I still think there's some players who could come to the Prem over 30 and perform really well. I think Sergio Ramos is probably one of those players.
Yeah.
I think if once you hit that 30 mark, it's a lot harder as an attacker to go to different leagues and try to like adapt. But if you're a defender, it's less. You just have to adapt to the attacking point of the game.
Right.
And in the Premier League, I'm not going to say it's a lot easier to just like adapt like that. But Ramos is probably one of the most intelligent defenders on the planet.
Yeah.
I mean, you pair him up with a smart center. I mean, I'm not even talking about a United. I'm talking. I could see him going to like Chelsea or definitely not City. I don't see him at City, especially after like the Pep. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Like I see Chelsea, United. That's pretty much it. Like,
Yeah.
but I mean, at Chelsea, you pair him up with like Rudiger or something. That'd be scary, dude.
For
That
a
would
couple
be
years,
scary.
yeah. I think Ramos is like what 30, 31, maybe
Yeah.
32. Like at the level he's playing right now, I could easily see him playing until he was 34, like starting
He's
consistently.
32.
And then so I think he still has 2 years after this year of like top
Who did they
tier.
pair him with? Did they pair him with Varane? Was that the
Yeah.
pairing? Okay. Dude, Varane's had a bad season.
Real Madrid's had a bad
Yeah,
season,
it's
dude.
just
Like
nuts.
a really bad season. Zidane saw the writing on the wall.
Yep. So, all of that aside, Liverpool beat Bayern, Porto beat Roma, and I just want to say I literally got every prediction wrong. I think we did our Champions League predictions like
Oh, did we?
3
get
months
every
ago.
single
Yeah,
one?
we got every single one wrong. We picked PSG, picked Real. We might have gone different on Roma Porto or something. Like got a
Yeah.
difference. I think we both had Bayern. Yeah, we had Dortmund beating Tottenham. I specifically said Sancho is going to come back to England and like duty on Tottenham. We literally got every prediction wrong. It just goes to show like people don't know shit about soccer, like at all, dude. Like you can cut it any way you want. Like everything can look one way on paper, but you still have to go out in the field for
Yeah.
90 minutes. Like I don't know, it just really. I think the Real Ajax game shows that more than anything. I mean, I think I made the point that Real's had a bad season. This is where they're going to get things back on track. Like,
Yeah. Well, I think like
kind of came true though.
obviously
They got Zidane.
the idea of missing every single one or like getting 2 right. Like I'm sure we picked Barcelona over
Oh, yeah.
2,
Yeah.
but I think it's also a testament. I was thinking to myself after this like match week ended or whatever, like I can't remember the last time there was like this wild of a Champions League round. Like
Soccer's good this year.
yeah,
Soccer's real
this
good
past
this year.
game week we were like treated.
Yeah, and it's not going to stop. We got United playing Barcelona in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Liverpool playing Porto. City are going to play Tottenham. And Ajax are going to play Juve.
I think there's 2 big winners from this draw. I think-
Liverpool, Juve.
Oh no, I very much think it's Juve and Barcelona. Like Barcelona doesn't have to play Cristiano Ronaldo till the final. They don't. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think they have to play City either,
Well,
unless they would meet them in the final. Either like
they just have to play United or Liverpool.
yeah,
Or
exactly.
Porto. Like,
I think that if you would have offered them that draw, like before the draw happened, they would have like bit your hand off for that.
you don't think they would have taken Tottenham and the potential of playing Ronaldo?
No.
I really think this is being led up to Barcelona Juve.
Yes.
Final.
This is a messy Ronaldo.
This is going to be the last, or this is going to be the first of 2.
Like
or 3,
I would love to see Juve win it. I would just
I
think
wanna
it's
see
so
Juve win it so
sad for
bad.
Gigi.
Yeah.
So sad for him.
Yeah. He has a World Cup, like
It's
not like
so
it's the end of
sad.
the world. Like he's got like 7 Scudettos, like 8, 9, 10.
Dude, he's like
Like-
a next level human being, man.
Oh no, I don't know. Ever since I watched him shove the ref.
Have you ever watched
like,
the Juve like series?
Yes, absolutely, yes. And,
He's like so next level. It's almost corny. Like
That's
you know what I
like-
mean?
it's not that I don't like him. It's not that I dislike him. It's just I do not like Gigi Buffon. Buffon. Like,
Interesting.
watching him
I literally
shove
don't think
that
I've ever
ref,
met
like-
anybody that said that.
dude, once he like shoved the ref and that.
This is coming from the
semis,
Sergio
like,
Ramos did nothing wrong guy.
Absolutely, Sergio Ramos didn't shove a ref, and then like not understand like why he got in trouble. Like,
I mean, yeah, that did like color him in a different light, but like, bro.
oh, I'm not denying his legend status.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that. I'm just denying, like, or I know I'm not. I'm advocating his cuck status. Like, I would say, like, out of the like, so there is a Cap Hall of Fame. And so, like, no, I'm serious. There's a Cap Hall of Fame, and Gigi Buffon has a plaque in it because he caps harder than anyone else.
Dude, you're capping right now by saying
No. Sorry, I don't mean to cap like that. Moving on. City are going to play Tottenham.
I think of all the teams left in the Champions League, and like that includes Barcelona, and that includes Juve, like Tottenham, the way Tottenham play match up to the way City plays better than any other like team. Like
Yeah.
Tottenham has just good of chances to upset City, I think, than literally anybody else in the competition right now. Just because City love to have the ball and pass around for 75% of the game, and Tottenham love to sit back,
25% of the
lull a team back into that, and then just like
Hit 'em.
devastate them. Like, yeah.
Um,
And it's more like practical to beat a team like that over two legs than say what Liverpool did to them last season. Just because like Liverpool like shit on them last season, but like playing that style over two legs when you're also playing super important games in your domestic league too, like you can't guarantee that your players aren't going to get burnt out and run out of gas by the like 65th minute and then just get put 3 goals in the last, you know what I mean?
yeah.
In the second half of the second half, like, so I think Tottenham of any team, like, I still pick City to win, but I think of any team left, like, Tottenham line up really well against City to beat them on the counter.
Moving to the Europa League, Chelsea got Slavia Prague.
Yeah.
You have to say that with an accent. They're going to play the winner of Benfica and Eintracht Frankfurt.
I think they
Arsenal
have the
play
much
Napoli.
easier path to the final than Arsenal, which
Got to
was
go
like,
over Villarreal and
Yeah.
Valencia. Or Valencia, one of the two.
yeah. And I mean, I think that there's like a decent argument to be made that by the time their Napoli tie rolls around, they might still be very much in to the top 4 with a shout, in which case they have to prioritize that, in my opinion, which would give Napoli the edge.
Yeah.
But they also could easily be in 5th or 6th place looking out with a 2 or 3 point gap and thinking, well...
This is how we backdoor it.
Yeah.
That's how United did it a couple
Exactly.
years ago.
So I think it very much is going to depend more on the state of where they are domestically when that tie rolls around. But like I said, like Benfica potentially, like they could be like a little banana skin for Chelsea, but like Chelsea's path to the final they look far more likely to reach the final than Arsenal do at this point. And on top of that, they also look far more likely domestically to need the Europa League to get Champions League next year. I just think Arsenal are far more likely to finish top 4 at this point. So, spicy game. Like, spicy tie, though. Like, spicy draw. So, U.S. roster got announced. Definitely not going to go through it point by point.
We don't have to go through it point by point. We can definitely like run it down. Like
Yeah,
some
I'm just
things
not
we
gonna
can
like list
with it.
every player
Yeah.
because it's been out for like the better part of 3 or 4
If you
days.
haven't seen it, pause the video and go look it up
Yeah.
and come back. Like it's on our Instagram.
But
Hey.
I think first and foremost we'll just knock out 2 like big elephants in the room, and the fact that like Josh Sargent and Tim Weah aren't there and people are freaking out.
Olympics, which like the Olympics are coming up. I don't think we have an Olympic gold.
No,
And I
we
think that's
haven't qualified for the Olympics
Yeah.
in 2 Olympic cycles.
And that is like a priority for you, like the U.S. Soccer Federation.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely,
We,
and I think rightfully so.
yeah, and so like people can bitch and moan like they're not at camp. They're at U23 camp. They're trying to get us an Olympic medal. Oh well.
So yeah, we're not gonna be like, wondering what Berhalter is thinking, not
Yeah.
calling Tim Way in.
Exactly. Let's give it until like I don't know. Like they're not gonna not play the Gold Cup this summer.
Yeah.
Like, they're gonna be there.
Yeah.
No reason for people to be freaking out.
Yeah.
I'm much more concerned with Omar Gonzalez.
Yeah, who is in the roster than who is
Yeah.
not in the roster.
Tim Reed.
We can definitely start with Omar Gonzalez. And we were talking like a couple days ago, like, I'll be the first one to step up and admit, like, post 2014 World Cup,
High hopes.
I was like about some Omar Gonzalez. Like, I think he was our best, like, over John. I know John Brooks came on when he was like freaking 19 or 20 years old and scored that header against Ghana. And I know like Jeff Cameron also looked really, really good in that World Cup too. Matt Beasler also looked really, really good in that World Cup too.
He looked really good in
I
that World
still
Cup.
think
Julian Green.
I still think that defensive wise, Omar Gonzalez came out looking better than anybody else out of that tournament. So I had really high hopes from him, but like literally since then it was like a downward trajectory to a point where he had like disappeared, and then Bruce Arena appears, and then like all of a sudden Omar Gonzalez reappears, and then just like scores an own goal against Trinidad, which wasn't his fault. Like I'm not, but like that was a really
Sounds like you're blaming him, bro.
that was a really fluky goal on a really fluky
Blaming
game.
him.
But like that kind of like that play was like a summary of Omar Gonzalez's former 3 or 4 years of his career since that World Cup, kind of like summed up in a nutshell. So I just don't see why you leave somebody like Walker Zimmerman out when he looked really good last camp. Like Aaron Long probably looked better, but like they partnered each other really well. I don't see like
why.
Yeah, if I would have looked at the roster and I would have seen John Brooks, Matt Miazga, Walker Zimmerman, and Aaron Long, I would have been like, all right, bet. That is, like,
nice.
in my opinion, the best four that you could have called in at this point.
Psych.
And I really don't understand Omar Gonzalez, but I also don't understand Tim Ream just because, like, yeah, he's playing in the Premier League, and if he was in, like, any sort of type of form, I would understand it. Because he was Fulham's Player of the Year last season in the Championship, but, like, he's playing really poorly in a team that has let in, like, almost 10 more goals than the second worst defensive team. So I really question that. Like, I'm going to be very bummed if I see anybody but John Brooks, Aaron Long, or Matt Miazga on the field. Like, I'm going to be super bummed if I see either of them. Then another little interesting thing is, like, I just think it's interesting that Brad Guzan isn't there. I mean, granted, like, Atlanta United has had, like, a very slow start to their season. So if Greg Berhalter is going strictly off form, then I think it's, like...
Makes a little bit more sense.
A little bit more sense, but I think it's interesting that, like... Yeah, especially because, like, Stefan was there, you expected him to be there. Ethan Horvath was there. Maybe you didn't, like, expect him, but it doesn't surprise you that he's there. But I think it's very interesting that you see, like, Sean Johnson get called in from NYCFC.
Sean Johnson.
Like, I don't even think Sean Johnson's, like, the best goalkeeper in New York. Like, I think Sebastian Robles is better from New York Red Bulls. I mean, granted, he's, like, 34 years old, but...
Is he American?
I mean, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, he is. And he's even been called into camp within the past, like, year. So I just find it interesting that we picked Sean Johnson over, I mean, you could argue, like, Stephen Fry from Seattle Sounders has had, like, a super good start to the season. But more specifically, like, I was just under the assumption that Brad Guzan was going to take up the mantle that he's had for the past decade of, like, being U.S.'s number 2. And he doesn't look like maybe he's not content with that, or maybe Berhalter isn't interested in that.
Or he's ugly.
Or he's, like...
He's ugly.
Or Berhalter was like, me and Michael Bradley can be the only balls.
They're just saying Michael Jackson.
No. Me and Michael Bradley can be the only balls on this roster.
Did you know Michael Jackson was a youth coach at Man City?
Oh, man, you should really not put that online. That we were making fun of that.
What, Michael Jackson?
No, that's not what we were making fun of.
Oh, dude.
Okay, moving on.
To Major League Soccer.
Yes. We're definitely going to be looking more like broad stroke, these first couple, probably even the first couple months.
We don't want to be the hot take police right now.
Yeah,
We don't want to be out here, issuing hot takes left and right.
We've seen how yin and yang.
We'd rather be lukewarm takes.
Yeah. So the first big take I have is just like, not specifically Atlanta United's slow start, because we've seen teams have slow starts and then just like go and win themselves an MLS Cup. But more specifically, like Frank de Boer's style of play.
It's like having a car in neutral.
And his comments, like we were talking about it a little bit off camera earlier today, but like he came out in a post game press conference and said not only that the fan base was spoiled. So not only was he going after the fan base, but he was also saying that they should tamper their expectations.
Very smart.
Yeah, so just like
dumbass.
Yeah, this is a coach that lasted 5 games, and I'm not saying that he should have been fired at 5 games. I think that was ridiculous, and Crystal Palace should have given him more time. But
no, it worked out.
Like he lasted 2.5, 3 months at Inter before that too. So like, I just don't understand if you're a coach that is like had difficulties like betting into the culture of a club, like why this is the way you go about your first opportunity. So I don't know. What do you make of that? Like,
I'm sorry, keep me on it. Yeah, I just don't think he understands Americans. I know it sounds weird. I mean, like, he comes from Ajax. Ajax been around for like 100 years. They've always been top dog, really. I mean, and I don't think he understands. Like, he just comes to America and he's like, "Oh, you've only been around for 2 years. Like, why are you so passionate about this?" Like, it's just.
Yeah,
I just don't think he understands.
That is a great
point in history. Like, he doesn't understand how bad people in Atlanta wanted a team there, and to come and say that, like, it'd be the same as if someone came to Manchester United and told people to taper their expectations almost, like.
No, that's a great point that I didn't make. Like, it makes him seem super out of touch with, like the culture of his own club.
Exactly. He needs to watch that documentary.
Yeah. But, okay, so moving on from that, from one, like, former expansion team to one current expansion team. What do you make of FC Cincy's like start so far? Like, they got pummeled by Seattle in week 1, but Seattle is currently on fire.
Yeah.
So that like
literally and figuratively.
Moving from like week 2, and now like we had the luxury of shooting after the Seattle game had ended today, so we saw how that ended too. They got a 4-2 win against Chicago. So like they're on fire. It makes their loss to FC Cincy's loss to them in week 1 not look as bad, especially when it was in Seattle. But then they go down to Atlanta, who doesn't look very good, and got a draw against like the current MLS champions. So obviously not like the perfect start, but doesn't look horrible. Like,
I mean, you're an expansion team.
Yeah.
Unless you're the Las Vegas Golden Knights, like, chances are you are not going to do good your first season. For whatever reason, I think that is what's going to happen to Cincy. I think they'll kick it around the bottom of the East for a little bit, for a couple seasons probably. But as all teams do, I mean, you usually get a good player. You usually make a run at some point, and you like. If you're a playoff team, you'll hang around the playoffs for a couple of years.
He's not gonna, he's not gonna change the quality of your franchise, but like they still haven't even gotten Greg Garza in, and like they didn't spend a ton of money. They spent like $200,000 or $300,000 in TAM, which is like literal pennies compared to what's being spent in Europe. But they made like they put in a lot of work to get that move in place. Yeah. Just besides the money spent, they like traded draft picks. And they like restructured some of their own salary to be able to bring him in, and we haven't even seen him contribute. He's like a current MLS champ with what he did with Atlanta.
He's a left back, right?
He's a left back. So I think there's no cause for concern for FC Cincy fans.
I think FC. I mean, like, you can't get relegated. That's basically all I can say. Like. If you suck your first season, I'm sorry, like, that does suck, but, like, almost every expansion team.
I
like,
don't
in
think
any
they
sport.
should be scared of becoming the next like Orlando City yet.
Yeah,
You know
they're not the Rebs.
Yeah, like
they still got 20,000 people at every game.
if they have to kick around and be the next Minnesota United, who like isn't a fantastic team, but like on their day is super exciting to watch. Like I don't necessarily think that's the worst thing for them,
Yeah.
especially in the market they're in. They're not in a New York. They're not in like an LA. They're not in a Miami where like all eyes are going to be on them every single game. So I don't necessarily think like if they like you said every team gets a player like for Minnesota it's Darwin Quintero like he's on his day a very 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 exciting attacking player to watch. So like if they can fit into that mold for their first couple seasons, I don't think that's the worst thing for them at all. Moving on from them, we'll finish up in Seattle. We just kind of like briefly talked on them, but Jordan Morris, JMO Smooth is back. Like I just love the fact that he like kept his Twitter handle from when he was in high school, and he's like a fucking professional athlete. His Twitter handle's still JMO Smooth 13.
Yeah, I've seen it.
Like, so I will forever call him JMO Smooth when I refer to him. But he's like coming up big. He's got obviously with the result today, 3 goals, 1 assist in 3 games. Like I'm not gonna like restart the hype train, but like I'm gonna re-enter the hype train and like prepare for that to restart.
That'd be nice. That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be cool for like us to be excited about somebody besides Josh Sargent and like Tim Weah. It'd be nice to have like a third little name to throw in there.
Yeah.
But yeah, and not only him, but like Raul Ruidiaz came in mid-season last year and was like on fire, and like he also has 3 goals in 3 games. So like, it's not just Jordan that's balling out for them right now. And I also think it's a big deal that you see them pulling out these results when you've seen them lose people like established players. Like we were concerned they lost Ozzie Alonso. We were talking about how big of a get for Minnesota that was last season. They lost Brad Smith. I think he went to LAFC. We were talking about how interesting of a loss that could be, even though they've always kind of like built their team off of Chad Marshall and Roman Torres. Like those were also big names in their defense. So far so good. We're not making any hot takes.
Right yet. Week 5.
We're
back for the takes in week 5.
But this is very uncharacteristic for Seattle. Like, pretty much, even kind of like in the Dempsey era, up until now, like they've very much been we're going to suck the first like third of the season and then we're just going to catch fire. And then by the end of it, like, you wouldn't be shocked to see us in a final. So, hopefully they don't flare up and then burn out. But it's a good start for them. So, yeah. That's all my MLS takes so far.
Yeah, I don't really have
Nothing super controversial.
Yeah. I think that wraps it up for this week.
Does about wrap it up.
Yeah. I'm Floyd.
I'm Jonah.
Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell Jonah he's ugly, do all that, and we'll see you next week.